About my beloved wife Pearl. The Lord implanted a deep love for her and me right from the start. And that's a marvelous thing, to have your life began by experiences that the Lord directed you into, or relationships that the Lord has directed you into. That's a marvelous thing, somewhat of a solidifying power over your life and your marriage and your family. Now, when Pearl got out here about the last or the first part of February, the last part of January, I guess it was, in 1942 to Yuba City, she went out with Doyle to look at about a 5-acre piece of property with a house and other buildings on it. And they was going to try to buy that jointly, because Doyle had a little money and Pearl had a little money, and they were going to try to get this place. Well, that was the first letter she wrote me after she got in Yuba City, and I was still back in Okima, Oklahoma. She was telling about going out to see this nice place. And it was 5 acres, had a nice home, and had all these things on it. So she told how happy she was, thrilled she was that day when she having seen that place, and she just hoped that they'd get it. She says Doyle's going to go out and see it tomorrow or something like that, or see what he could do about it tomorrow, maybe the people who were selling it. But that particular deal fell through, and they didn't buy it. But in the letter that she wrote to me, she said, I can just see ours and Doyle's children playing out here together. And the thing that I had forgotten about in this letter was the last little part there. She said that I want to have at least 9 more children. Wow. What do you think of that one? I had forgotten that she had put that in that letter. Lo and behold, she got them all right. She got 9 more.
10.
She got 10 pregnancies, and the last pregnancy was twins. The little twins, Starling and Darling. And they were cute little things. They were really cute little things. Mm-hmm. Just look at those little... I got one picture of them. I call them my little papooses. You know, when they're real small, they're so cute. And of course, they still were as cute as they got older. But Pearl was really proud of those little twins. But she had a nip and tuck there in the hospital, Enloe Hospital, when she had those twins. Did you remember that? And the Relief Society sisters had to come over and stay there. You know, they took turns staying right there with her at her bedside to see that everything went well. And she came through it. Everything worked fine. The Lord blessed her, and raised her family. And I'm sure the Lord had his hand in that. But her children was her greatest possessions. Her loved ones. She always loved to be with loved ones. She always loved to invite relatives and people over for dinner, or it didn't have to be relatives to invite them over. She loved to invite people over. She was one of the greatest hostesses, or to invite people over that you could ever imagine. Everybody loved her. Everybody she met loved her. When she first arrived in Yuba City, not having had the opportunity to go to church or attend, a ward, whenever she came into the little chapel there in Yuba City, right at first, just as soon as the meeting was over, out the door she went. She told me about this. And because of her little bit shyness there, But you know something? There was a Sister Hater, and there was one other lady that took her under their arms and befriended her and just made her feel right at home, and and that broke the ice. And then from that on, she was just fine. She didn't try to get away. She just, before it was over with, and all the different wards that we were in, up in Chico, Ran, and Yuba City here, she was, in my estimation, one of the most friendly, sweetest of them all. She was outgoing. All of that little shyness that she had at first, all gone by the wayside long ago. She worked in primary for a number of years because she was raising children in the primary. And I suppose that she worked in the primary more than anywhere else in the church organizations. So all through those years, I recall when we, as a family, got together to go to conference in Gridley. Your mother would fix up a real nice lunch for a picnic type lunch. Usually fried chicken and potato salad, other things that went along with it, some good drinks and stuff, and potato chips and who knows what else was in it. And as we approached coming down the highway, getting a little bit close to Gridley, all the kids was hollering. They could see the steeple of the church and the top part of it across the fields. And they'd look across there. There's conference, they'd say. There's conference. We always went to conference. We always went to church. And it was a matter of fact, it was just a matter of their lives that we always went to church and we always went to conference. So I suppose that was the most consistent thing we did. That we always went to church, we always went to conference. And that was a good thing. We had our gospel conversations in our home, and the twins are more noted for bringing this up. They missed our conversations around the dinner table. And so they look back upon all those fun times they had. But as I look back over our family, most of the time they grew up in Chico. They had the whole run of the whole area there in Chico and surrounding areas, including what did they call that hole up there to swim in?
Bear hole?
The bear hole. Boy, those kids of ours was everywhere. I was gone a lot of the time, so I wasn't really aware of all that you did, but I know from what I've heard afterwards that you pretty well had the run of the town. And it's nice, and I look back over that and think, well, gee, it's really a nice thing that here's a family with young people growing up in a town all the way till they're grown up, through high school, and sometimes a little bit into college. Well, that was a great thing. Now, your mother was friendly to everybody. I will say this, there's times when I was gone from the office of the warehouse, and we let the phone ring in the house, at home, and your dear sweet mother, Pearl, answered the phone. And there were times, I'm sure, that we got the moving job just because of her sweetness and her politeness over that telephone. You know?
Mm-hmm.
And so they would call back, and then of course I'd go out and give them an estimate. But dear little Pearl didn't complain about anything. Her family, though, her children and her grandchildren were her jewels. She carried pictures of them in her wallet. She'd pull them out wherever she went and met new people that she'd come to know, and show them the pictures of her grandchildren and her children. Said, these are my jewels. Now, when it comes to Pearl and the rest of the family, my father, as I told you, came off of his mission. He even went up to Kennewick, Washington to see us after he got finished, before I got out of the Navy. But later on he come to stay with Lavoie, and later on he had his own apartment, and he had stayed with Lavoie and different ones, mostly Lavoie, I guess. But he came up to stay with us, and he'd been around with the different sister or daughter-in-laws, and he really thought the world of Pearl. My father did. And he stayed with us right toward until the last. We took him to the Orville Hospital, and where he passed away. But he loved Pearl. He thought the world of Pearl. And but when when Pearl finally passed away in 1980. We went that particular morning. We were stake missionaries, and we went to the missionary meeting first. And when we got out of that, we went directly into the chapel and the cultural hall. And we were sitting right there in the front part of the cultural hall near the chapel part. And we sit there a minute, and Pearl said, "Take me home." So we got up. But on our way in there, down the hall, she said, "I don't think I'm going to make it." She felt it was feeling bad for me. And some people noticed that. And I took her home. We put her in bed. And as soon as I got in bed, she says, "Take me to the hospital." So we took her to the hospital. We got her situated there in the emergency place, and they began to take care of her there. A little bit later, I walked across the street, and I saw Bishop Wasden. And I said to him, I says, will you get somebody else on your side? You and somebody else go over and administer to her. I says, not because I think she's going to pull through, but for her comfort. And they did that. But your dear little mother, she had desires to live, but she also had a curiosity about the spirit world. I remember on one occasion we talked about going on the other side, and you know what's on the other side, meeting other people there in the spirit world. Mm-hmm. And she said, she kind of perked up and said, "Yeah, I think it'd be pretty interesting. I think it'd be a lot of fun," or words to that effect. You know, is it about through? Mm-hmm. Is it over there? Huh. Anyway, going back to the funeral, when we had the funeral there in the chapel across from the Animal Hospital, that first floor building, every chair in that building was used. The cultural hall was full of people. And of course, the chapel was full too. And I guess there were people standing up back there too. I didn't look back to see, but I guess they were. Then after the conclusion of the services, they all began from the back to march up through the front on the one side and over past the front, past the casket, and on out. And I was amazed at the number of people that were there from all walks of life. Not people necessarily in our church either. People that she had befriended, people that she had met. She was a friend to everybody. What a marvelous spirit to have, is to be a friend to everyone and have a congenial relationship with people that she met. And that carried over. That was permanent. Once they found out her, she had him in the palm of her hands. You know what I'm saying by that? So I praise her highly and love her for what the beautiful person that she is and was. And when she passed away in the Animal Hospital, I've always been rather sober and hardly knew what to think about it all, I guess, at the time. But when I got out to the car in Thelma's car, I broke down and wept and cried. And I even speak to her now from time to time and tell her how I love her. You know, even though she's not right here where I can see her. Send little messages like that, you know. So, I think maybe...
You ever feel that she's with you?
I have felt that would be a possibility. However, when I get thinking about that, I think, well, she had all these children, these loved daughters and sons and grandchildren. Why would she... She may have the privilege of visiting me. I guess that would be a possibility. But I don't know as I could claim her to be with me all the time or anything like that. I will tell you a little experience that I had that shows you something here about other people on the other side directing your thoughts. My wife was, I probably told you this before, she was working a crossword puzzle, but I'll put it on this, one night in here in the kitchen table. And she was working there for a while, and I walked down through the hallway into the bathroom and on the back bedroom and so forth. And as I paused right there, as I went by her, right by her there, she says, "Who was the grandfather of King David?" I says, "I don't know. I didn't know." And I really didn't expect anything to happen there, but right after I spoke, just a second or so after that, I says, "But I will tell you what just now came into my mind. O-B-E-D, Obed." And she wrote it in. She says, "It fits." You didn't even question it. Now, who put that into my mind? I did not know. I didn't care what his grandfather's name was. I never studied that. But I'd read about Jesse, the descendant of Jesse, many times. It's David, and Christ also was a descendant of Jesse. But, you know, the Spirit of the Lord, or whoever, can put things in your mind, and that's the Spirit of revelation. We also call it the still, small voice. It speaks. It only comes into our minds. You only think it. It's like a thought that comes right into your mind. So, is this about ended there?
Mm-hmm.
So that'll end it. I will say that when I first read the Book of Mormon when I was about 17 or 18 years of age, that the Spirit of God was very kind, God is merciful, especially to young people. If they'll approach Him sincerely in prayer, their prayers can and will be answered. And I felt the power of the Holy Ghost manifesting to me that the Book of Mormon was true. My bosom burned within me, not just once, but on many occasions as I thought and pondered the truth that that book contained. Now, my testimony I will leave in the name of Jesus Christ.